guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you had a good weekend. Henry Cavill has a new interview with GQ, and of course, inevitably, Superman is always a topic of discussion when it comes to Henry Cavill, which he recently discussed in another interview. I forget what magazine it was for, but it was a really good article, and that was he also talked about Superman there in that last interview too, and now but that was when you had to read. It was a really long article. This one is actually a cool little video. He kind of talks about a bunch of movies, like pretty much almost all the feature films and shows that he's been in. But in the very beginning, he talks about Superman and how it started and what he would like to see continue with his Superman. So let's go ahead. It's a few minutes long in the beginning when he's talking about Superman, but I think it's worth listening to and watching and then talking about it.
I was very keen on really fleshing out Superman's early stages of his journey first. We had Man of Steel, and then we went quite a bit darker with Batman v Superman. And if he were to succumb to the anti-life equation and become bad Superman, I really wanted to make sure that we saw the hero, Superman, and we saw the true symbol of hope, the beacon of light, before we went down the path of darkness and then redemption. And still something that I am very keen to flesh out.
So are we want it to happen too,
Man of
please.
Steel. The wonderful thing about Man of Steel and what Snyder and Nolan and I wanted to do with Superman was create a Superman who was accessible in the sense that what would we do if we lived in a world where we had to keep every single aspect of ourselves hidden and we couldn't really truly interact with people? And how would that affect us? It's especially when you have that scene with Kevin Costner who's saying, look, don't reveal yourself. The world is not ready for you yet, and it'll only be a bad thing.
I'm gonna skip past this part, so hopefully I don't get like a copyright claim or a strike or anything. The scene from Man of Steel when, Jonathan Kent is telling Clark not to save him so he doesn't reveal himself in front of everybody.
Clark does follow that advice at first, but then realizes that's not the way to go, and that he must do what he must do regardless of that advice. And that was the beautiful bit, is that even though he has restrained himself and lived this life of loneliness, essentially, he's still willing to step out of the shadows and become the hero, despite the fact that it's going to have a negative impact on his life. And that, I think, is the aspect of that symbol of hope. He's good about mankind, despite the fact that mankind may not be good. The aspect of that symbol of hope, he's representing everything that is good about mankind, despite the fact that mankind may not be good to him.
Okay, so I also skipped the part where it shows the end of Man of Steel when Superman kills Zod. Trying not to get in trouble here or get any strikes, so he's starting off okay at the end of Man of Steel.
Man of Steel, it was set up so wonderfully to begin that journey, because he had his first outing against the last surviving member of his species and had to kill him, and that is going to inform a lot of who he becomes. The terrible destruction of Metropolis, where he's fighting someone who has the same powers of him but actually has training. He barely makes it out of that thing alive. And so what lessons has he learned? He definitely isn't going to kill anymore. And he's definitely going to make sure that population centers are completely removed from the equation, because now he's experienced it and now he's thinking about it. And so we get those steps towards building that incredible, wise version of Superman, rather than the still wet behind the ears kind.
At Hilton.
Okay, so I do recommend watching the rest of the video if you're a fan of Henry Cavill and his movies. He goes on to talk about The Witcher, The Count of Monte Cristo, Tudors, Immortals, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., the Mission Impossible Fallout, so pretty much everything, Enola Holmes. So it's a cool video, it's a cool interview if you want to check it out. But I just wanted to touch on the stuff where he's talking about Superman and Man of Steel, obviously. I like a lot of the things that he pointed out there, because I think so much of what he was saying about Man of Steel is a lot of the stuff that people really had a big gripe with or misunderstood about where they were starting from as an origin story for this Superman that is so much more based in a realistic setting compared to movies that we've had in the past of Superman. The first thing he says is what they wanted to do, Snyder, Christopher Nolan, and himself, is that if Superman were real and he lived in the real world, how would it affect him? And how would the world actually react to him when finding out about him? So I think that was such a big thing that people just missed and didn't even give time to think about because of the ending of the movie and because it wasn't, you know, this kind of thing. And it wasn't, goofy, and he wasn't this Clark Kent that's like bumping into things and, fumbling and stuff like that. It was a realistic perspective on how Superman would be in the real world, how it would affect him, and how the world would react to a being like him. And so I really like that he opened up talking about that because it's what Man of Steel, it's the whole thing about Man of Steel and why it's so different. And then going into talk about how the end of Man of Steel set up a continuing journey for his version of Superman. Why this Superman has no experience. He just decided to reveal himself to the world, and to save, because he knew that he had this responsibility because Zod is coming to Earth and he's gonna, do who knows what. So again, like he said, fighting a being that has the same powers as him but is actually trained and experienced, unlike himself, and causing all this destruction, and why he chooses not to kill. That whole ending set up his journey going forward and his character arc, and learning what it means to be Superman. And I also like that he pointed out that his Superman chose to reveal himself to mankind, knowing that mankind was probably not going to be good to him, even if he was being good to mankind. And that's another thing about, when people say, not my Superman, he doesn't save. I just don't get that, because this Superman chose to do that knowing that what his dad would always tell him: the world is probably not going to accept you for what you are. And, like he said, good or bad, he's going to change the world. And it's just, there's so much set up in there, and the dialogue and relationship between Jonathan Kent and Clark growing up, and why he chose to listen to his dad about not saving him. I know that was a big problem for people too. But the movie shows, and then the way people react shows, and even more in BVS, we see how the world actually reacts to Superman. And so, like he said, he's so keen on fleshing out more of, Superman's journey and arc, and, getting to the hopeful, more, like he said, wise, experienced hero Superman, and then going, down the path of coming to the anti-life equation and then having redemption, which is what was supposed to happen in the next Justice League movies. And that's how we were going to see the rest of Superman's story be told. So I know that fans of Henry Cavill's Superman and Zack Snyder's universe in the DC want that to continue. I want that to continue. I appreciate so much that he still talks about it and that he still wants to do it. It's just unfortunate that he's always saying publicly and making it very clear that he wants to continue to do that. He wants to tell Superman's story, pick up from where it left off, and continue down that path. And I wish they would just take the opportunity to do that. You have someone who wants to continue to do that. A lot of people that get involved with these these superhero movies, they kind of just want to do what their contract says and get out of it, because it's such a huge commitment to do these movies that are franchises and several movies and all of that. But even with everything that he has going on in the future with The Witcher, continuing with, all the seasons that's going to have, potentially 7, doing another Enola Holmes, the Argyle movie, and probably other things that are going to come up, he still wants to continue this. And I just hope one day that we see it happen. I don't think he's ever going to say that he doesn't want to do it anymore. So I just wanted to share that with you. Go ahead, if you haven't watched the rest of this interview, I recommend it. It's pretty cool and interesting to learn about some of the, you know, behind the scenes things and diving in a little bit to the other movies that he's been in. So let me know your thoughts down below. Check out the links in the description, and you can also check out the channel for anything you may have missed recently. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.